Coach McCon Castle said yesterday that tight ends don't get to work as much with the quarterbacks, so they want to make the most opportunity when the ball comes their way. Have you seen that out of him and Jacob this year?
Yeah, I think obviously there's plays you went back and we've had a couple drops, but at the same time, I do feel like we've done a lot of good when it's come our way as well. It's something that obviously you got to spend a lot of time in practice. You got to find ways to work with those guys. That's off season, that's in season. But yeah, I think they've done a decent job maximizing when it's their way.
Casey in the back.
Growth-wise, what have you seen from McAllen Castles to be able to make the plays in the big moments like his touchdown before the half against Alabama?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him is always just playing one at a time and not letting the last play affect the current play. He's an unbelievable talent, like really has some upper level skills that if he can do that one play at a time, he'll continue to make big plays. I think it was awesome for him to make that one on Saturday.
Other questions? Rob, then Noah.
Coach, I know he's kind of been a forgotten man since he's a freshman. He's battled some injuries, but Ethan Davis, just what's the progress? What's his development been like this year?
Yeah, he's doing a good job. It is something we talk about a bunch. And as far as when he got here in the spring, the challenge is learning the offense, being able to operate, being able to understand where you're supposed to be, what your assignment is. And he's been really good mentally as far as being able to have a chance to do that, even as a true freshman, which in our room is extremely tough. I do think the physical development, just getting big enough, strong enough to play in this league, and to be honest with you, I feel like that's where, not to make excuses for him, but the injuries in the spring, the injuries in the summer, it's tough to play at a certain weight in this conference to really hold up in some of the things that we'll ask him to do. But he's done a great job working on it. He's just got to continue to get bigger, stronger, and more confident with it.
Kind of going off that with Ethan, just how valuable has it been for him to see the kind of season that McCollum and Jacob are having?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's like what the expectation level is shouldn't be dictated by what guys around you or what guys before you have done. It is something that obviously seeing guys that know how to work and how to come into the room every day and handle it like pros, I think that's more important than anything on the field. I can tell you this about E, like when it's on, the lights are on, like he's a competitor, he's a playmaker, like he's got those traits for sure, and I think he'll expect that when it's his turn to roll.
West and Brent.
Alec, you talked about with McAllen and kind of stacking those plays and doing it kind of one play at a time with those skills. What's been maybe preventing that from happening more consistently so far? Has it been adjusting to this level? Has it been, learning the offense? Has any of that stuff kind of made hurdles for him?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of factors. There's a lot of things going on, and it's one thing to know it in practice, it's another thing to know it in a walkthrough, it's another thing to go out and execute. And I think where he's got to just continue to play one at a time is understanding that like good and bad things are going to happen. You can't let one creep into the next. And it's more of honestly, an internal desire to be his best. And he really, like, I promise you this, like, he gets frustrated as anybody out there when something's not right because he really wants it to be perfect. And understanding that we want to control as much of that as we can, but when it's not, you've got to be able to reset, let it go, and play the next one.
Everybody, talks about catches and touchdowns and all those things. Where do you think this group is in the run game, blocking? Where have they been this fall? What do you need to see out of this group or want to see out of them in the back half of this run here?
Yeah, I mean, you're the sixth hat in everything that we're doing in the core, and it's something that, like I've challenged them. Obviously, that's something that I feel strongly about, and something that they've absolutely answered the bell. I do want to see, like, there's a level of doing your job, being on the right guy with the right leverage and some decent technique. There's another level of really trying to bury people, and I think that there have been times on tape where guys have seen that maybe for the first time and felt that for the first time, and you want that to be contagious where that just becomes another level of how you play. But they've done a great job with what they've been asked to do so far.
Casey.
Is there any difference between Jacob Warren and McAllen Castles in terms of the type of situation that they're best suited to be successful in?
That's something, obviously, they've got different skill sets, and I think any coach will tell you want to use guys to the best of their ability. With what we do, a lot of the stuff, they've got to be able to do all of it. Now, there's certain concepts that, hey, we like this one more for Jay, or hey, we like this one more for Callie, but at the end of the day, they're both capable of going out and executing everything we're putting on tape.
Alec, you talked about Ethan. Okoye was obviously so raw when he got here. You know, seemed like he had a lot to learn, and needed to get bigger and all that. How has he come along so far? Can you see him, you know, being up to speed kind of mentally on everything that
Yeah,
goes in that?
It's fun to watch scout tape on Thursdays. It's like kind of the one lull in the week where you get to go and watch the scout guys and make sure they're doing a good job giving a look. And with what he's doing down there, like he's continuing to get better. And I think some of that just playing football, you know, it takes a little bit of time, and it's something that when he does put it together, going to be really fun. But seeing just jumps from fall camp where, man, you're having to line them up everywhere, and it's like totally, you know, drinking water through a fire hose. Now it's out there, he's playing ball, he's making plays down there. It's been really positive to see his growth. He's in the same boat as Ethan, where he's got to continue to eat, got to continue to gain weight, got to get stronger. But I'm excited about where he's at through half of this season.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Or does Kentucky's running game present for you guys?
Right off the bat, it's one of the best rushing attacks in the country. We thought Ray Davis was one of the better running backs in the conference last year when he was at Vanderbilt, and he's continued that, you know, over here at Kentucky. They have a big physical offensive line, great blocking, you know, athletic tight ends. They present a real challenge for us, but by every measure that you can imagine, that they run the ball at a high clip, and they do it very, very well. It's a kind of a perfect marriage with Ray Davis with their rushing attack. So it's a big challenge for us. We have to do a great job of, you know, being in our gaps and getting off of blocks and tackling at a high level.
Casey.
What was the expectation for Elijah Herring coming into this season, and how has he risen or exceeded that so far?
You know, with the season still going on, I think there's still room for improvement. Obviously, the expectation was for him to play. We never know at what level. You know, injuries are part of the game, so you never know when your number is going to get called. Obviously, it probably was a little earlier than we expected. You know, Elijah's a kid that's gotten better and better as the season has gone along. You know, from a kid we talked about from last year that really never played stack linebacker, was an edge rusher in high school, to learning how to play inside linebacker. You see, you know, flashes of a kid that's got a chance to be a very, very good linebacker. And then there's still some of those moments, you know, where the inexperience starts to show. But man, all in all, we're happy with him. Like I said, he plays physical. He's going to give you effort-wise the most that he has every snap. So I think the best is yet to come, but he has gotten better since the season has started.
Great.
Coach, obviously they'll spread it some, but this is kind of an old school downhill attack. How does that change for your linebackers? Because there's so much sideline to sideline stuff. How does this plan change? How's the mentality have to change for linebackers when they're just kind of coming straight downhill?
Even with the spread, I liken it to our offense. They spread you out, but you still have to meet and defeat blocks. We're still going to have offensive linemen and fullbacks or tight end sniffer that, you know, guys that are going to be blocking you. So you still have to meet and defeat blocks to be successful, and you have to tackle well. They do, you know, they do it a little bit of a different style because they're a little bit more condensed and they're a little bit more downhill. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to recognize formations. We're going to have to tackle well. But the most important thing is we're going to have to get off blocks.
Rob.
Coach, your two freshmen, Jeremiah and Arion, how would you rate their development through the season? And did you anticipate that both those guys would be legitimate, guys in the rotation?
You know, kind of like the Elijah Herring question. When the guys are, you know, here and, you know, they actually show that they can play, where they can get on the travel squad, I think the expectation is to get them ready to play no matter how young they are. I've been, you know, knock on wood, I've been one of my years where we lost 3 of our top 5 linebackers in the first game of the season, and, you know, for multiple weeks. So you have to have those guys ready to play. If we bring them here, and I say that if we recruited them here, we think they could play at a high level. Obviously, the speed of the game, their level of maturity, and how they pick up the defense is always going to be a question. But those two guys have come here, you know, eyes wide open, you know, with open, you know, book to learn as much as they can. And we've been thrilled with their development. And obviously, you're playing high-level SEC football. It's not going to be perfect, but once again, we can't fault the effort and their, ability to make plays. So, like I said, I think their best football obviously is ahead of them, but I think they're ready to play if they're called upon, and we put them in games in some critical situations in these last couple of weeks, and they've done a good job.
Brent?
Yeah, just kind of wrapping up the Alabama game, but what did Alabama do in the second half to run the football more effectively? Was it something they did? Was it something you guys didn't play as well in the second half as you did in the first half? What did you see different from the run game?
No, I think it was, you got to give them all the credit in the world. Like, they came out at halftime, they made minor adjustments and, put us in some, and I'm not going to say difficult situations, but different situations. I think the quarterback run game picked up in the second half that they didn't show in the first half, and we didn't do a great job of fitting that. The first run that happened, that was us. We pressured, we didn't fit the run that first play of the second half. But all in all, outside of that first run, it was the quarterback in the second half that kind of got on the perimeter on us. Felt like we did a decent job on the running back, McClellan kid, and some of their other running backs. I know he got on the edge to score the touchdown in the second half, but that was more, once again, us getting off of blocks and, being able to edge on the perimeter. So, to answer your question, I thought they did a good job, but I still think if we, had our eyes in the right spot and were able to fit the run the way we were supposed to, we would given ourselves a better chance to stop those two runs.
Ben and West.
Rodney talked after the Florida game about the guys up front, not just the defense in general, not being locked in the first half the way they were in the second half, and then some players have kind of talked about the same thing, not being as locked in the second half as they were in the first half. How disappointing was it to see that issue pop back up, and what needs to change going forward to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I thought we had a good halftime. We would always be truthful. If we had guys that were, eyes, bugged out, like, man, we up, in Bryant Denny Stadium, it wasn't like that. I thought we had a really good halftime. I thought the guys were locked in, and, we knew they were going to come out, with a little bit more fire than they had in the first half. I really feel from being on the sideline, that wasn't the case. Maybe some guys were reaching, maybe not playing outside the framework of the defense, and that's something we have to correct. I thought even after the first touchdown, we were able to regroup and do a better job. We let the quarterback get out on the perimeter on us a couple of times, but all in all, I thought the focus was better than it had been on the road the last couple of times. We just have to be able to finish. There was a couple of passes that were thrown that we felt like we had a chance to go really affect in the second half that could turn the game around. And we talked about it. If we contain that quarterback a little bit better in the second half, it comes down in the fourth quarter, and we're still right there. We felt like we were still right there. It was a one-score game for most of it until they scored that last touchdown. So I thought our kids were better. Just me personally, I know everybody might feel different. We just have to go out there and go execute at a high level and finish the game the way we started.
Last two, Wes and Patrick.
Is it, when you're playing defense on the road, I know sometimes people say it can be easier to communicate at times for the defense than it would be when you're playing at home, but when things have slipped in those games, and Florida for a bit and Bama for a bit, they kind of snowballed. How does that, is that tougher about being on the road, about getting kind of some stops there and stopping that momentum?
It's adversity. You can't feel the crowd. You can't feel the energy in the stadium. Obviously, it's their home crowd. So if they do something positive, obviously the stadium's going to be a little different. When you're playing, really good defense on the road, you don't hear the fans. You don't feel that, and that's the challenge. If you're playing really good on defense, you kind of have a chance to take the crowd out of it, and you feel like you're in control when you're on the road, and that's the challenge. I thought we did that in parts. When we got a couple turnovers in the first half and then got a couple stops, and that's always the challenge, to go out there and go do it for 60 minutes. The communication, I thought, was good. Like I said, I think our eyes got away from us a couple times in the second half, and that was, where a couple of their big plays came from. But, I still thought we were better, obviously not good enough, to go win on the road in a big time, SEC game, but we have to be obviously a little bit better. And I'm not gonna say a lot better, we have to be a little bit better, going into Lexington and going to go win on the road.
Right, you talk about your younger linebackers, and Elijah and the two freshmen, but for Aaron, obviously the expectations going into the season are going to be different. He's a veteran guy coming back. How do you think he's played this season, and what do you want to see from him the rest of the way?
I've always, I'm an Aaron Beasley fan. I feel like he's one of the better linebackers in the conference. And the biggest thing with him, and I tell him, is to just, empty the tank. I still think there's an even better football player out there than what he's shown. And like I said, I'll tell him I think he's one of the better linebackers in the conference. But there's still plays I still think he can go make to be game-changing plays, because he has that kind of ability, and that's always the challenge. He'll tell you we challenge him with every week to go out there and go be the difference, because he's got that kind of ability. We have several guys on our defense that have that kind of ability, and he's one of them. We just want to see him take it to another level and help us, obviously go win on the road in some of these hostile environments.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.